Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Kodavatalam Bhangam Vete Guru Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Guru Devadam Vanchikapa Jivishja Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavega Vaishnavi Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I have some good news. There's a lot of news in the world. There's the morning news, evening news. Generally, it's all bad news. So I just opened my computer and looked in the emails and got one email. A person got a book from me a couple of years ago and now is practicing Krishna consciousness. Just got back from India doing the Dandavat Parikram around Vrindavan. So that was good news. Yeah, people are getting Prabhupada's books and it's changing people's lives. This is the potency of the words of Krishna and the words of the pure devotee. In one purport, Prabhupada says that a diamond is very valuable and gold is very valuable. You put a diamond in a gold ring and they complement each other. Very valuable. So the books that we're distributing, they're priceless wisdom. We're giving out gold and diamonds, not ink and paper. Valuable gems, actually much more valuable than gold and diamonds. So therefore, it's expressed by the acharyas that this knowledge should be distributed. And this is, we're getting close to the time when Lord Chaitanya's appearance is coming. Gaurapanim is coming up. So I thought I'd say a little bit about this auspicious day coming up, Lord Chaitanya's appearance day. He was a special incarnation of Krishna who came to teach us how to be a devotee. And in Kali Yuga, it's a very fallen age. So Lord Chaitanya, he's known as Patita Pavana, Hetu Tava Avatar, Narottam Das Thakur. So he is the savior of the most fallen. So in Kali Yuga, there's a lot of very fallen people. So, and therefore Lord Chaitanya comes and he preaches. He's the example in the age of Kali of how a devotee should live. We should give this knowledge to others. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, the only lack in society is Krishna consciousness. And it is said by Krishnadas Kaviraj, Katantana smate yasnam duskaram sukaram bhavat vishvate vitartam Sri Chaitanya namamitam. That if one remembers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then very difficult things become very easy. But if one forgets Lord Chaitanya, then very easy things become very difficult. I'll tell you one little Sankirtan pastime that I experienced many, many years ago. I was at a college. I set up a table and the security officer came and said, "I'm sorry, you can't set up here. You have to get permission." So I thought, oh, geez. It's generally just set up at a table, and it's set up a table at the university. It's not a problem. But sometimes, you gotta go through the bureaucracy. So I was thinking, oh, because in America we have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, but sometimes they put rules on that First Amendment right. So I was thinking, oh, so I had to go to the dean and get permission. But I was thinking, oh, it's going to be a whole trip. So I was chanting this verse as I was going to the dean's office. Katanchana smrite yasman duskaram sukaram vishmate vitaitam. I was chanting it like japa, because I knew it's going to be difficult if I don't get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So I was chanting this verse, and then I got to the office and I asked the secretary if I could speak to the dean. And she said, well, she's a little busy now. Just wait a few minutes. And I waited. Then the dean came out and I said, I want to distribute Bhagavad Gitas on the campus here. And I was told I had to get permission from you. And she said, yeah, sure, go right ahead. No problem. Oh, okay. Thank you. I was surprised. So then the dean left and the secretary said to me, you see, that wasn't that difficult, was it? And I was thinking, it was kind of like Lord Chaitanya saying, you see, you take shelter of me, it's okay. So yeah, we had to take shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We had to pray, not just when we're on book distribution, but before we go on book distribution. Actually, the secret of having success on book distribution is you always have this mood, of compassion and taking shelter of Krishna, and Krishna reciprocates. That's one of the very nice things about book distribution, is you feel the reciprocation of Krishna. And it's nice. It's nice when you feel the presence of Krishna. And this happens quite a bit on book distribution. Devotees are sincerely trying. When Lord Chaitanya was in India traveling, he went to one Brahmana's home, Kurma Brahmana. He is a great devotee. And Lord Chaitanya stayed with him for 4 months. Imagine such mercy. The Supreme Personality of Godhead stayed in your home for 4 months. And then he was leaving, and the Kurma Brahmana said, I want to go with you. I don't want to deal with this household life anymore. I want to go with you. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, you stay here. Yari Deka Tari Kaha Krishna Upadesh Amara Agyaya Guru Anatari Desh. He said, you instruct everyone of the teachings of Krishna as they are given in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. And you become a spiritual master. Stay here, preach. Do as I'm doing, preach. So he took that instruction and he stayed and he preached the message of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is what Krishna wants us to do. He wants us to get this knowledge out to the people. Throughout the world, there's so many universities, but there's no university, there's no educational system where people are learning the absolute truth. They're learning relative truths, and sometimes not even that. So it's so important that we distribute this knowledge. We're very fortunate to have come in contact with this knowledge, to have come in contact with Krishna, with Lord Chaitanya. So we should also want to make others fortunate. We've gotten a great fortune, Krishna consciousness. Can't beat it. So yeah, we want to share it. Sometimes people ask me, so why are you doing this? You know, when I'm book distribution, they ask, why am I doing it? I tell them, well, I got something nice. I found the Bhagavad Gita. And I was thinking there's nothing nicer than this, so better share it. Let me share it with others. So it's a nice thing to share with others, the absolute truth. These books are actually keys to the door to the spiritual world. If someone gets a book and follows it, then they can become purified and go back to God. And it doesn't have to be a big book. There's one instance of one person who got one of these little leaflets, teachings of Prahlad Maharaj. I think it's about 20 pages. A little leaflet, pamphlet. So he took it home, and New York City, they were giving them out for free. So he took it home and he's reading it. And he was astounded. He was like, wow, this is a powerful little message here. And he was so interested that he wrote to the BBT and he got some other books. And he was amazed about the knowledge in the books. It was like, wow. So he was getting all the cantos. He got the Bhagavad Gita, he was getting the cantos. This is back in the 70s. So he got up to the 4th canto, and then he heard that the 5th canto was out now, because gradually the cantos were coming out. Now we have the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. Back in the 70s, gradually the cantos were coming out. So he heard that the 5th canto was out, was printed. And he wrote the BBT in Los Angeles, and they said they didn't have it yet. So he thought, well, maybe some of he knew there was Sankirtan devotees in New York City that were distributing books. So he thought, well, maybe one of them will have it. So he's going out. He went out to the city to find some Sankirtan devotees, and he found one devotee, and he asked her, do you have the 5th canto? I have up to the 4th. I heard the 5th canto is out. I want to read the 5th canto. And she said, no, I don't have it, but I think we might have it at the temple. And he said, no, I'm not going to go to the temple. See, he had faith in Prabhupada's books, but he didn't have much faith in the devotees, so he didn't want to go to the temple. So she said, well, okay, but can you give a donation? He said, well, I don't have any cash. I don't have my checkbook on me. She said, that's okay. We can go to your apartment. And he's like, oh, all right. So they went to his apartment, and she's waiting for about 15 minutes, and she's thinking, oh, this guy, he tricked me. But then he came, and he brings out his checkbook, and he says, I'm only going to give you $2,000. He said, no, you should give $5,000. So he said, oh, all right. This is 1973. I mean, $5,000 I mean, it's like, I don't know, it'd be like $20,000 now, that equivalent. So he gave $5,000. Didn't even, he had the book, didn't even give him the book. So she was happy about that. And then a couple of weeks later, she saw him again in the city. And she said, "Oh, Prabhupada is coming. He's coming in 1 week." And this person that's been receiving these books and gave the nice donation, he was like, wow, the author of these books is coming to New York City. I have to meet this person. But then he thought, but I got to go to the temple. He didn't want to go to the temple. But he thought, I have to go. I have to meet this person. So he went. When he heard the day that he was going to arrive, so he sat right in front of the Vyasasana. He asked, where is this person going to sit? So he sat right in front of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada chanted Jai Radha and gave this amazing lecture. And after Prabhupada spoke, he sat and he thought, I'm a Hare Krishna. I'm a Hare Krishna. I have to join this movement. Because he just loved Prabhupada. He loved the lecture. So he became a devotee. That's Devarmrita Swami. That's how he joined. So now he's practically one of the best at making Western devotees. In New Zealand, he's got a small army of book distributors there. And it all started with a little leaflet. Yeah. So these books are very powerful. They change people's lives. They create a revolution in the hearts of the people that receive these books. So in order to distribute these books, we have to read. We have to read the books. Prabhupada once said, I didn't write these books just for the non-devotees, but I wrote these for the devotees. And he would ask Sankirtan devotees sometimes, are you reading the books? I know you're distributing the books. And the devotees would be saying how many books they're distributing. They're very joyfully telling Prabhupada how many books they're distributing, knowing Prabhupada to be pleased. And he was. But then he would ask, are you reading the books? And often they would say, well, Prabhupada, we're busy traveling and distributing and cooking and doing so many things. And then Prabhupada would say, well, then what is the use? Because he knew they're not going to have the strength to continue. Reading Prabhupada's books means we get strength to distribute them. Shakti, Krishna Shakti Vanana Tara Pavartam. Without the Shakti of Krishna, we cannot distribute books. So it's so important. And we have to pray. Pray for compassion. Pray for a desire to distribute the books. And Krishna will help. There was one great devotee, Vasudev Dutt, great devotee of Lord Chaitanya. And he said to Lord Chaitanya, I feel so much pain upon seeing the suffering of the living entities in this world. Please, may all the sinful reactions of everyone in the universe come upon me so they can become free of their sins and go back to Godhead. When Lord Chaitanya heard this, he started crying and he embraced, imagine that, he embraced Vasudev Dutt. He was so happy because he knew he meant it. It wasn't just lip service. He meant it. He said, I could understand you're saying this because you're an incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj. And Prahlad Maharaj, he says, Nai vo vijaya pradarajaya vaitaranyas tvadvirya gayana mahamatmagmadit. So chetato mikuchetas indriyartha maya sakaya. He says to the Lord, I have no anxiety, no problem. Because wherever I go, I'm hearing and chanting your glories. But I am concerned about the unfortunate souls in this world that are suffering. I am concerned out of love for them. So this is a devotee. The devotee has compassion. This is something that we should pray for. Compassion. And you all know the same. Man proposes, God disposes. He will help us. Because he wants this. He wants everybody to get purified, go back to God. Krishna, believe it or not, Krishna is feeling some pain because of the suffering of the living entity. Just like devotees, they feel some pain. They're called paradukha. When they see someone suffering, it gives pain to the devotees. So Krishna's like that also. Just like a father, that son becomes degraded, becomes an alcoholic and drug abuser, just becomes really degraded. It gives pain to the father to see him like that. So imagine there's a son that becomes very degraded like that, and another one of his sons decides to help his brother, and he goes out of his way to help his brother, to get him off of drugs and alcohol and his evil ways. And he goes out and he helps him, and he cleans up. He cleans up his life. He becomes a good son again. And he goes to the father and begs for forgiveness for his nonsense. So imagine how pleased the father will be with that son that went out of his way to help his brother become good again. Imagine, you can't imagine how pleased that father will be with that good son that went out of his way. So book distributors are like that. We're going out of our way, accepting some inconvenience, to help others go back to their father, Krishna. So Krishna is very pleased. And therefore it's said that in the Vedas, Krishna, he says, I'm not in Vaikuntha. I'm not in the hearts of the yogis, but I am wherever my devotees are spreading my glories. So therefore, if you want to meet Krishna, go out on book distribution. And he's there. He's waiting. And it's a nice experience, actually. Definitely my most wonderful, ecstatic experiences in this life has been on book distribution. No doubt. It's pleasing to the soul, purifying to the mind. Because you have to take shelter, Krishna. It's not easy. Book distribution is not easy. But if you do something that's not easy, then any sincere devotee will take shelter of Krishna. And therefore, Queen Kunti, she says, please, give me calamity again and again and again. Give me more and more calamity. Because when calamity comes, I take shelter of you. By taking shelter of you, I overcome the repetition of birth. So this is the mercy of Krishna. The The wealth of the Brahmanas is austerity. Because by austerity, we get pure. Nayam deho de bhajam naloke custom kaman arhate vidpuja. Depodivyam putakayena satam sudyadjasmad brahmasokyam tvaram. Lord Yashabdev, he says, of persons who have accepted material bodies, persons who have accepted the human form of life shouldn't waste their time in doing the same activities as the animals, feeding, sleeping, mating, but they should engage in austerities by which they get purified, by which they develop divine consciousness, and by which they can actually go back to the spiritual world. Austerity is good. So maybe I'll stop there. Any questions, comments, reflections that anybody may have?
I have a question or a comment, however it may be taken. Prabhu, can you explain the importance of our sadhana running parallel with book distribution, or any service in particular, book distribution? The importance of having strict chanting practice and being attentive while chanting, and how that increases our desire and our results for having good experiences when book distributing.
Thank you. Yeah, from hearing comes understanding. We have to be convinced about what we're doing. And the more we hear, the more we chant, the more we're convinced about this activity of giving Krishna out to others. Shrimvatam svakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana priyantasto yabadrani vidanoti suhitsatam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's stated that Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul in the hearts of all living entities and the benefactor of the true devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who simply relishes his messages, which are themselves virtuous and properly heard and chanted. So, by hearing, by reading Prabhupada's books, and relishing, Krishna becomes very pleased, and he cleanses the dirt from the heart. And the more we're cleansed, the more we're going to experience the happiness of Krishna consciousness. And the more we experience the happiness of Krishna consciousness, the more we'll feel we want to help others. We want to give this out to others. People don't know what the goal of life is. They're thinking the goal of life is just to enjoy material sense gratification. But Lord Chaitanya says that the desire to enjoy the material world and the desire to be liberated are like two witches that haunt the living entity. And because of being haunted by these two witches, they cannot experience the nectar of devotional service. So what we're doing when we distribute books is we're giving people an opportunity to experience the nectar of life, which is devotional service. Now they're suffering so much, and there's some little flickering drop of material happiness, but so much suffering coming along with that. So, yeah, the more we hear, the more we understand the fallacy of this material existence, and the more we understand the greatness of Krishna. Dukali Masashvatam. This material world is a place of suffering. And the spiritual world, it's a place of happiness. But if one practices Krishna consciousness nicely and helps others also, then one transcends, Prabhupada said, one transcends this world of misery. You could experience the happiness of Krishna consciousness in this lifetime. Iha yasya dashe karmana manasaga nikila sopilvasasu jivan moksuji. That anybody who engages their mind, their body, their words in the service of Krishna is liberated even in this lifetime. So yeah, we have to hear nicely. And then we'll want to give nicely. We should want to, we live to give. Prabhupada came and he lived to give. So we should also have his mood. Live to give. And then Krishna will give himself. We live to give to others and Krishna gives himself. Reciprocation. Okay, anything else?
Anybody has any comments or questions, feel free.
I just wanted to thank you, Maharaj, for this beautiful talk. It's few times it gives me chills, and I think I'm glad it's recorded because I think I will watch it again. So I just want to appreciate my gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the best way to show the gratitude is somehow go out and distribute books. Not everybody can be full-time, but everybody can do a little bit. As VIjaya Prabhu says, if you have a lot of people doing a little, it becomes a lot. But everybody can do something. Even if you go into the store, you carry some books with you, you might meet some nice people. I remember there's one devotee in Australia, he was just going to go to the store. And on his van, he's got Hare Krishna on both sides of his van. So people were coming up to him and asking him about the books, and he sold so many books. He was just going to go to the store, but people saw the writing on the back of on the side of his van, Hare Krishna. We're pretty popular actually in Australia. So yeah, somehow we should distribute books in whatever little way or big way we can.
Yeah, one comment, I think sometimes we can underestimate the power of just one or two books. You know, maybe there's a pressure where we think we have to distribute hundreds or thousands, but like you said, a lot of people doing a little. So I don't know, I was just thinking that now is we never know where one book's going to end up and how it can affect and change someone's life. Like you said, that little leaflet and pamphlet, that story that you gave earlier. So I was just sharing that, reflecting a little bit.
Yeah, these books aren't just books. They're Krishna. They're Krishna. One devotee, he wanted to install deities in his van. And Prabhupada said, no, that's not necessary. You just worship the books. And the books, they're Krishna, so they have a way to get around to the right person. The person that is ready for it. So, yeah.
Would you say each book already has its destination?
Yeah, there's a saying in India that each grain of rice has someone's name on it. There's actually, everybody in India knows the saying. I don't know the saying, it's in Hindi. So similarly, each book has someone's name on it. Sometimes it may take a while to get to the person, but yeah, it's like that.
So I guess before we wrap up, if there's no further comments or questions, does anybody have any recent stories distributing books. I know Gadadhar Gosai Prabhu's here. He's a big book distributor from Monterey. He stayed with us. I think y'all crossed paths briefly when he was here in San Antonio a couple weeks ago. But or Sudevi, Mataji in Houston, or anybody else. If you have any stories distributing books or sharing books recently this past month, feel free to share.
Well, I would, for inspiration, to say that there's one devotee you probably all know, or some of you may know, Sarvabhauma Prabhu, and he distributed a book last year at Herman Park, a Bhagavad Gita, and he's very personal. So he invited the young man to come over to his house for like lunch or whatever. So he did that a year ago, and now the young man came on Sunday, last Sunday, to our program, and Tuesday, and he's like, it just like ready. I guess he was ready to come now, but it's a whole year later. It's interesting. And I was thinking, one of my questions was, like, how is it that we distribute so many, or I, not personally, but like now I notice the brahmacharis are distributing so many books, but we don't see them, coming. But I've noticed how a year later people will come or even 2 years later, like they'll be ready to come. And one of the ladies that are very serious in Krishna consciousness since last March, Lilia, she got a Bhagavad Gita at a tattoo convention, and same thing a year later, after she took it her time, read it, and then she came a year later with a bouquet of flowers for Krishna the first day. So I feel like the people that come from the books are like ready, basically, because they know what they're getting into. They're coming because of the philosophy, and they're wanting more. And it's really nice. It's such an amazing weapons for Kali Yuga.
Krishna says in the Gita, Manushyanam Sahasresu, out of many, actually Prabhupada said, out of many millions of people who try to go on the spiritual path, hardly one knows me in truth. So even people that are on the path of spiritual life, hardly anyone understands Krishna or even wants to show any inclination towards Krishna. So it's the age of Kali. It's difficult, but yeah, it's good to have that personal touch. I just got this email from this person recently. So they got the book and now practicing Krishna consciousness. It happens. It's rare, but it happens. So yeah, but the personal touch is always good. Prabhupada said that what good is your 3-minute lecture if they take a book it'll change their life. But sometimes we meet people that are interested, so we should spend a little time with them. We're a personal society. I remember in Miami we had this 8-story hotel temple, and I was in the elevator with one Indian man, and I started speaking to him and asking about him, and he said, I've been here 8 times, and this is the first time anybody's spoken to me. So sometimes we can be a little impersonal, and we have a very personal philosophy, but sometimes, I don't know, due to past bad habits or impersonalism in the past, we can be impersonal. So, yeah.
Yeah, I put a little stamp in the books. I stamp every book. I try to, and it has our phone number, temple programming information, just in case the book traveled from here to, wherever.
Yeah.
There's reference, just in case someone can call. And I usually try to stamp it right in the front cover or the inside cover of the book. You never know. Yeah, I have one story. We went to UTSA, we went to the college, and I had been doing books last semester. We took last semester off from the club, more or less, but we started the club back up. And I was trying to figure out the energy there, and I was kind of reserved, and I would do a few books, maybe like 10 books in a couple hours, and just let students come up. But then Parma Karuna, who's a traveling book distributor, one of the few we have, he came and we kind of opened it up this past Tuesday. I said, well, when he comes, I can see how he works it. And plus, let's be a little bit more bold. We ended up he mostly did 5 cases of books. And he, I saw how he set up. And we had one student come and he took 25 books on the spot. And I talked with him for about an hour. The next day, he came over for about 5 or 6 hours. We had lunch together. And he's been calling me, and he's going through his own challenges in life, but he's just totally like open to everything.
25 books.
25.
He didn't have that much variety. What did he took a whole case to give to
Oh no,
people?
Parma Corona has a whole variety. He has about 30 different books, 25 different books out there. He took every single book on the table. He has the art book, he has Deva Amrita Maharaj's books, he has all these kind of obscure ones that you don't see too often, Dharma and a few other ones.
Wow.
So he took a whole box and he was just like ready for it, and I thought like, wow, this is such an encouraging thing here. And we were meeting, and like that, the students were just signing up for the club. So I said, okay. And this student said, I want to keep the club going until, next year. And I said, okay, let's see what happens. So we have our first meeting on Tuesday, and I was just so grateful that Krishna, we had one administrator try to give us a little bit of grief in the beginning, basically saying you better not be selling and you can't pass out any personal information. We said, yeah, whatever. We won't do that. We're not here to sell. So we would take a few donations, obviously, but it's very encouraging now that I can set up a table and be a little bit more bold in my approach. So we're really looking forward to that. It was such a sweet, sweet afternoon. We'll be going out there. Hopefully, I think we'll be out there next Tuesday as well. One thing I wanted to mention is that if anybody needs books, I know Shashi and Svetlana, if you want some books, please let me know. I can send some. I have plenty here. You could take a small book, or even Bianca, take a few books and keep them in your bag. And if you go to the store, if you, feel inspired, you could always just give a few of them out as well. If anybody needs books, please let me know. I guess before we wrap it up, is there any other comments or anybody want to share any book distribution stories before we close our meeting, our monthly meeting this month? Okay, so I just wanted to again remind everybody, this is the flyer, the Texas Sankirtan team, where we have guest speakers every month, and the goal is just to connect all the different yatras. My wife and I have become very inspired, especially with book distribution. We feel like it's the foundation of all of our activities. Even when we throw these big festivals, it's just another way to get out books, right? So we have goals to continue the program in Laredo. We're trying to open up Corpus Christi, and then we eventually want to have a men's ashram in San Marcos, Texas. So I'll be going there next week to see what Krishna has in store. That's one of the amazing things about book distribution and sharing the knowledge, is that it's an adventure. So we're hoping eventually we can have that part of South Texas working together along with the rest of Texas. And this call, please share this flyer or share the WhatsApp link with any devotees that may be interested. It's not only limited to Texas, but of course, we're trying to zero in on spreading Prabhupada's books throughout this state. It's a really special way to do things, is if we can work together. And of course, Gadadhar Gosai Prabhu's on the phone. He was in Houston recently. He was distributing books in San Antonio. So even helping and working together with different yatras in Mexico. I was going to call him. We're trying to plan a festival between San Antonio and Monterrey. So if you can share this group, it's sweet. It's an amazing program, and I hope it expands. Maybe we could do a book distribution festival once or twice a year. Maybe we can do these calls once weekly. That would be great. But again, thank you, Prabhu, for joining and giving your time. And I love hearing you speak. It really puts me in a meditative state. You have such a nice, calm voice and so many deep realizations. So I appreciate you and your time sharing book distribution realizations. So I guess we'll end here. I will upload the video. Thank you again. I hope you'll have a nice weekend, and we'll see you next month. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
All right.